From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the Business, Equity, and Opportunities Podcast with Scott Sander.
Welcome to the Business, Equity, and Opportunities Podcast. I'm Scott Sander. On this episode, Eddie Gill, former NBA player turned investment advisor, has some great advice for business owners on accessing capital. Learn how the Indiana Energy Independence Fund is helping minority businesses be more energy efficient. And we draw our inspiration from a mining engineer who would become a top executive for Cummins. It's a story you'll want to hear.
Every business is unique and has a target audience. If you own or manage a business, Circulus Digital Media can help you connect and grow your customer base with turnkey digital solutions that are nimble, offering best-in-class results, service, and support to reach a bigger customer base, allowing you to pinpoint a specific audience down to the smallest details. Get outside the city, the state, span the globe. Put Circulus Digital Media to work for you. Get started now at circulusdigital.com. That's circulusdigital.com.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Eddie Gill played for several teams during his pro basketball career, including some memorable years with the Indiana Pacers. Went on to become an analyst for the team in 2016. Another turn in his life, recently he joined Invest as a financial advisor.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Access to capital.
Here with Invest initially, here in partnership with BE&O Power. Emil Ekior is a good friend of mine. He's been doing great work in the city for quite some time, and I've been fortunate enough to participate in a variety of his events. And today, in the last couple of days here with Invest, we're doing an Entrepreneur Elite program in which we get out to entrepreneurs and talk to them about their business and talk about how they scale. And first and foremost, it starts with the individual in terms of their own personal growth, where they are and where they're trying to get to, making sure that those personal lines of communication are in sync with the business lines of communication, right? Making sure that they're running parallel and not perpendicular.
We talk on our show a lot about underserved communities, so minority business owners, women business owners, veteran business owners, disabled business owners. Invest hits those areas really hard.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Last year they actually hosted the BE&O Power Minority Business Owner Conference at the office there, but ultimately just making sure that each and every person out there, regardless of what their nationality is, their background, the privileges or lack thereof, making sure they have some of those opportunities and resources to go on and educate themselves if they have a great idea in terms of their business focus, if they have something that they're trying to accomplish within that business specifically, and then provide the resources, the education, and the tools to be successful.
Friends who are watching who may not know your first career, you're a successful professional athlete. I think a lot of folks think, well, he could just ride off into the sunset, spend his time, just enjoying life. What brings you to the business world? What do you like about it?
I mean, I love it. I wish that were the case, but although I probably couldn't sit still anyway, so I probably need to be doing something. Ultimately, getting to the financial service industry was something I thought about as a player. We hear all the horror stories about athletes and mismanagement of money and those types of things. My goal initially coming into the business was to diminish some of those stories, highlight the great stories that are out there, because there are a lot of guys and women doing great work post-career. Want to be able to glorify those stories and continue to add to those in this capacity that I'm in now. And once I've gotten into the business, been in it now 10 years plus, find myself working with a lot of different business owners in a wide variety of industries.
We've talked to a lot of people who have something that makes them different. For you, for instance, it might be, I had this career that you may have heard of in the past. When you start something new, should you run away from that, or should you lean into that as maybe the door opener for you?
I think you definitely lean into it. As you mentioned, my former life was dedicated to the game of basketball. I put everything I could into it, and now it's the gift that keeps on giving, right? I've been able to leverage those relationships to continue to provide some real value to people in the community, not only just here, but nationwide. And that's something I think people should lean into. Whatever your passion may be, something that you did previously, something that you were good at, you loved, continue to lean into that. And it's not who I am, right, as a basketball player. It's not something that defines me, but it's something that I did at a high level, and I don't shy away from that. I'm fully grateful for everything that I was able to achieve, and even up to this point, like I said, it's something that's been able to open up a lot of doors for me just based on my past experience.
It also occurs to me that talking to you might be a good way to get over nervousness that people may have. For instance, when you want people to help you with the business, you got to ask things of them. People might be intimidated. Say, I can't talk to Eddie Gill. He's Eddie Gill.
Sure.
but they do. They need to get over that.
There's no question about it. I truly believe that at some point you have to trust in people, right? And sometimes in this day and age, it feels hard to do that. But when you have the conversations, build rapport, and ultimately, it's a way of having your own personal growth, right? And that's another thing is that I firmly believe we can do far more together than we can apart. So when you're able to encounter individuals who have that same type of spirit, same line of thinking, I think you lean into that and really just kind of undress all the uncomfortable feelings that you may have there and lean into it and have a good time with it. Us at Invest in particular, our main goal is to go out and educate, guide, and counsel as many individuals as we can. We have a mission to serve over 1 million families, and we're tracking in the right direction. We do that with great intentionality. So that's something that's really important to me personally as I embarked on this mission and the journey with them. And it's something that they've been able to achieve and really execute at a high level.
As part of this year's InnoPower Minority Business Week at Rally, many companies were on hand doing workshops on ways that small businesses can better run their businesses day to day. Alex Crowley is the executive director of the Indiana Energy Independence Fund. He was on hand to help direct minority-owned businesses to funding for energy-efficient upgrades.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities, running your business day to day.
The Indiana Energy Independence Fund is a nonprofit green bank serving Indiana. So let me break that down. Nonprofit, we are not profit motivated. We are in fact a mission-driven organization that is designed to help accelerate the clean energy transition. In other words, provide energy efficiency solutions and renewable energy solutions through financing for portions of the population that are not able to take advantage of financing that's out there right now. Mm-hmm. So lower income or undercapitalized organizations have challenges accessing capital, can't make the investments, and they're actually the people who are most susceptible to the negative effects of not being able to pay. So that's the nonprofit side. We are Indiana focused, so we are throughout the state of Indiana. And a green bank fundamentally is not a bank. It's an organization that brings money in, and in our case, we are bringing funding from philanthropic sources. As a nonprofit, we can do that, federal sources, state and local programs, bringing the monies in, and we're using that money to catalyze private capital. So we may at some point need to make investments directly, but more often than not, what we're saying is we have this funding that can be used to leverage private capital. So let's say it's a credit union or another financial institution that may be hesitant to get into the space of financing for this kind of work. And so we take the capital that we have, and if they have a perceived risk, we can eliminate that perceived risk. We can also help to bring down interest rates, which, as we all know, are pretty high these days. So there's a variety of tools that we can use. And so we've only been around since the beginning of 2023. We've built up very quickly. There are green banks all over the country that we are stealing ideas from, frankly, and bringing them to Indiana. And so we're able to move very quickly and take advantage of some of this federal funding that's out there.
Do those conversations from the entrepreneur side tend to be easy conversations? Do you have to explain what the benefit is, or are people hungering for that kind of a thing?
I think people can be intimidated with some of the work that is implied in this. So where I think there's a real opportunity, where the Green Bank is focused on financing projects, the reality is we also understand the criticality of having workforce, existing workforce further developed, or adjacent workforces. So when we think about it, we think about there are, for example, electrical contractors, right? Or maybe they're just doing straight up electrical work. They can be, they can enter the solar installation field very easily. They're certified and ready to go. So I think there's some people who are maybe self-selecting out of this work because they don't understand it. They may not understand how huge an opportunity in the next 5 to 10 years exists in this space. It does take effort to train yourself into it if you're not already trained for it. So our objective here is to make sure that the workforce in Indiana can absorb a lot of this opportunity that's being really sent in from all these different sources, and to bring entrepreneurs into the space that have an interest in expanding their work into the type of workforce that we're trying to support here.
Let's drill down on both of those, with the workforce and the entrepreneur side of this. You mentioned the word efficiency early on in this conversation. That's one of those that makes ears go up. Are you talking about a future where it's not just that you're helping the overall greater picture, but this could benefit you on the daily? You have to turn the lights on, and if you're plugged into a system that does it more efficiently, your bottom line looks better.
Yes, that's right. And so, if you're a business, and if you are lowering your energy bills, you are either improving your bottom line, or you are actually, in some cases, if you're a nonprofit, you are rediverting some of the funding that you would otherwise be spending in an inefficient way back into the mission of whatever organization you have, whether that's a for-profit or a nonprofit business. So yes, there's a tremendous amount of cost associated with, especially as you get into physical buildings and that sort of thing. I mean, there's a lot of hidden costs there. You can minimize the impact of that.
From the workforce side, does Indiana have built-in strengths? Does it have areas where we need to improve so that those transitions between here's an available person and here's an expert in the field, that becomes easier?
I think we are a little bit behind in the overall workforce scale that we need to be able to execute the work. Having said that, there are great businesses doing this work, and it can be HVAC work, right? So there is a network of great businesses that are out there. There are great organizations that are already hard at work to cultivate, train, develop the workforce, and that's not just in clean energy; it's across the board. But that benefits us. You have this opportunity that's sort of the end game. The end game, whenever you're doing workforce development, you don't want to develop a workforce if the work is not there.
Right.
What we're trying to do is ensure that the work is there, so that as people are coming up through the system and are being trained, that there's a marketplace for their new skill set. And so that, I think that Indiana has a lot of great talent, obviously, a lot of, industrial work ethic and work skills that are easily transferable to this space. So to the extent that people want to transition or evolve or move into this kind of new opportunity, I think we've got a lot of talent to do that.
Time for a fun final segment on business equity and opportunities. Erica Baird is one of the first African-American women in the United States to graduate with a degree in mining engineering. In fact, paid her way through college working in mining. Now she's part of the executive branch of Cummins Sales and Service North America and is committed to diversity and inclusion in the mining industry. Her journey is our success story.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Success Story.
So I actually am an engineer by trade, but all of my background is in sales and operations. I actually came up the ranks going out into the field to sell mining equipment.
Wow.
And so when I went out into the field, I was actually the first black female in history to be able to do that. And so I had responsibility for all of the Southern California, all of California, Hawaii area, that region, growing the rental business and growing the mining business and growing the construction business were really quarries in that space. And then I moved and we were introducing a new product, so I did that. I moved back to another region, did the same thing, grew the business in that territory. I went back and I became a black belt, but for massive across business projects. So when I came out of the field, I took on a role as a black belt, which was basically a large project manager that was across businesses and large global projects. So I had the projects for growing parts globally for the company at that time. How do we combine all of our internal purchasing with the power of our dealer network, which was even then a $20 billion business. And so I did that for a while. And then I went into strategy and business risk for the company. So I had responsibility for the board of directors and our CEO. So I did that for a while, and the number one risk to the company was rentals. So I went back to the rental side of the business to lead rental growth. What should that look like? What do our teams need to look like? And when I came to Cummins, I came in as president over North America, so I had responsibility for the industrial side of the business. So all of the oil and gas, marine, mining, rail, all of the OEMs and fire trucks and pumps. So it was pretty exciting. 100% of the roles I took, I was either a first woman or the first black, and 100% of the time I was the first black woman. And so, yes, I do recognize when that's happening. And I think it puts a lot of pressure on me to succeed, because I always felt if I failed not only for women, but I failed for blacks also. So it's a lot of pressure. I have succeeded every step of the way. I think the big part of the fireside chat is just how do you navigate corporate America and the importance of a strategic network. So the two things I always give back to young people I mentor or people who are getting into business is, one, excellence. You need to know the business inside and out, understand what your customers' needs are, how you provide financial impact, and be able to communicate it in a way that gets people to want to invest in the initiatives that you want to lead. So I think that's critically important. I think the second thing is people need to understand what their own weaknesses are. So if you're starting a business and you specialize in tech, but you really don't understand marketing, or you really are not good in the financial space, how do you partner with other people to ensure that you have everything you need to be a fully successful business, right? Because that's why most businesses fail, is because they try to be everything to everybody instead of knowing their own strength. I tell anyone I work with or mentor to listen twice as much as you talk. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So I tell people that it's critical to listen twice as much as you talk, because that's where you find the answers. Whenever I travel, being over global sales and service, I walk the floors and I understand, what do my technicians need to keep the customers up and running? What do my salespeople need to be most effective, so that when they get out in the business world, they know we provide them with the tools or the training that they need to be able to be successful. And the only way you learn that is by being quiet and listening.
Our thanks again to all the contributors who joined us for this episode of the Business Equity and Opportunities podcast. We hope you found it enlightening, useful, and inspiring. You'll find more information about the show on our website, BEOshow.com. You can watch Business Equity and Opportunities Sunday mornings at 10 on Wish TV, or live stream it through wishtv.com. Each week we provide 7 full segments with topics ranging from how to get started and how to access capital to the day-to-day running of your business and questions about accounting and bookkeeping. We feature business news and trends and always share a success story from one of our contributors. Join us next time for more insights into the world of small business. Be sure to sign up for our Business Equity and Opportunities newsletter to get even more valuable, up-to-date information. And if you have any questions or you'd like to be part of our show, please email us. The address is beo@wishtv.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Scott Sander. Thanks for listening.
Watch the Business Equity and Opportunity Show on Wish TV and access all of our content and share it on demand anytime at BEOshow.com. You can find more podcasts from Wish TV on the All Indiana Podcast Network at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.